the Palm Beaches, and welcome to When We All Vote, Palm Beach County Voting Squad Candidates Forum. As we celebrate Black history, we want to kick off our national voter registration with this forum focusing on the following races. Our 2021 municipal candidates from the city of West Palm Beach, District 2 and District 4. City of Delray Beach, Seat 1, Seat 3, and Seat 5. When We All Vote is a nationally nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that is on a mission to create participation in every election by changing the culture around voting, harnessing grassroots energy, and with the hopes of strategic partnership, reaching every American. So many other greats have joined this initiative. For instance, Palm Beach County Voting Squad is comprised of 37 local nonpartisan organizations representing the many faces of our community. We're standing by the mission to increase participation in elections and to close the voting gap of race and age. To ensure the citizens of Palm Beach County are ready, we will host this forum and other forums over the next few weeks, highlighting candidates in several municipalities throughout Palm Beach County. Okay, enough of me rattling. Let's move on to the excitement. Introducing our moderators for this evening is Angela Cruz, a member of the League of Women Voters, Young Leaguers. She currently serves as the advocacy chair of the Young Leaguers. Angela?
Thank you, Ms. Wester, for that introduction. Good evening, and thank you all for joining us for tonight's candidate forum. Our moderators for the city of West Palm Beach are Noel Martinez and attorney Denise Mutamba. Noel Martinez is the president and CEO of the Palm Beach North Chamber of Commerce, covering a 10 municipality region with approximately 800 member organizations with more than 20 years of service in the public and private sectors. Noel has a strong background in leadership and management development, business development, chamber operations, and membership growth retention. He's served in leadership roles throughout the Palm Beach County and Florida. He currently sits on the board of directors for the Florida Association of Chamber Professionals, the Forum of the Palm Beaches, and the Jupiter Medical Center Foundation's Business Advisory Council. He previously held positions in the Mardi Gras Fine Arts Festival Steering Committee and the Riviera Beach CRA Executive Director Advisory Council. Our other moderator, attorney Denise Mutamba, graduated from the University of Miami School of Law with her Juris Doctor. She currently works for the city of Riviera Beach as an assistant city attorney and serves as the president-elect of the F. Malcolm Cunningham Senior Bar Association. She's also a member of the Small Claims Rules Committee for the Florida Bar and the board of the Young Lawyers section of the Palm Beach County Bar Association. She's a proud member of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. We'll now move on to our moderators.
Good evening, and thank you, Ms. Cruz, for that introduction. First, we want to make sure to thank everyone watching from home. We really appreciate you being with us tonight for the Candidates Forum. Tonight, you're going to get the opportunity to hear from candidates in the city of West Palm Beach and Delray Beach municipal races. We're going to begin with West Palm Beach and specifically candidates running for the following seats: West Palm Beach City Commission District 4 and West Palm Beach City Commission District 2. The goal tonight is to gain some insight into the candidates' qualification and platforms. We want to make sure that you know that everyone in every single candidate for every single race tonight was invited to participate.
So here are the rules for tonight's forum. For each race, each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement. We will then move to each question and answer block. All candidates in a race will be asked the same pre-screen questions, and they can choose not to answer. If they do answer, each answer will be limited to 1 minute. After that, we will ask questions submitted by the audience. If you have a question, please submit it in the question and answer section in the Zoom, Or if you're joining us by Facebook Live, put that in the comment section.
So at the conclusion of all the questions, each candidate's going to have a minute for a closing statement. We're going to have a timer displayed for each candidate to review, and we ask that the candidates begin when the timer starts. We want to make sure you get enough time to answer your question. Please note that we are going to have a facilitator monitoring the audio, so candidates, please be respectful and mindful of the time restrictions to avoid being muted. We don't want to have to mute you. Now I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Ms. Denise Mutamba and the candidates for the first forum.
All right, thanks, Noel. So we're now going to begin the first group of candidates, which will consist of candidates for the West Palm Beach City Commission District 4. The candidates for this district are Joseph Peduzzi and Jonathan Jones. Please note that both candidates were invited to this forum. He will have 2 minutes for an opening statement. So Joseph, if you want to go ahead and take it away with your opening statement.
Thank you so much, and thank you for hosting this forum. Unfortunately, I don't see my challenger here this evening, but thankfully I am a lawyer and I pretty much can debate anyone as far as I'm concerned, and so I guess tonight I'll be debating myself. I am the incumbent West Palm Beach City Commissioner for District 4. Professionally, I'm a personal injury lawyer. I hold an AV rating from Martindale-Hubbell, the highest rating for both legal ability and ethics. I'm a member of the $1 Million Advocates Forum. I first got into or became a commissioner because public service is in my blood. It's the natural progression of what I've always done, from my high school days as a Key Club officer and a police explorer to the 20 years I spent as a volunteer firefighter, EMT, fire chief, and reserve police officer. I've served on the board of numerous charitable and civic organizations, including an adult treatment facility, an animal rescue. I was chair of the City of West Palm Beach Nuisance Abatement Board, vice chair of the Criminal Justice Advisory Committee, member of Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, secretary of the board of the IBIS POA, and I was president of my office condo association. Since in office, I have worked tirelessly to ensure the health, safety, and welfare of our citizens. I feel strongly that every person should feel safe in every neighborhood in West Palm Beach. Currently, I serve as a governing board member of the Palm Beach TPA, the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council, and I'm the city's rep to the National League of Cities, among other boards. I am so thankful to have received the endorsements of many organizations, the Chamber of Commerce, the Economic Council, Human Rights Council, our firefighters, our police officers, the SEIU, and the AFL-CIO. Elected leaders, I know I'm running out of time here, elected leaders, I have the endorsement of all of my colleagues on the dais and the mayor. I have the endorsements of Congresswoman Lois Frankel, Representative David Silvers, County Commissioners Kerner, Weiss, McKinley, Bernard, School Board Member Alexandra Ayala, Board Commissioners Waldron and Anderson, Congressman Mark Foley, former Mayors Moyo, Rickines, Lynn, Frankel, former Commissioners Moffitt, Robinson, Smith, and others. Again, I thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today, and I'm looking forward to continuing working for the citizens of West Palm Beach.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Joseph. So we're going to go ahead and get into the questions. And Mr. Peduzzi, you will have 1 minute to respond to each question. And I just ask that you wait for the timer to begin before you provide us with your response. All right, so the first question. On average, citizens of West Palm Beach are paying nearly half their monthly net income on rent. Seniors living on fixed income struggle to find low-income housing. How can city leaders help to alleviate the challenge of providing affordable, attainable, and workforce housing?
Thank you. You were a little garbled there for a second, but I think I understand the question. You know, in West Palm Beach, I think we're on the forefront of providing, affordable and attainable housing to our residents. We certainly, as a body, as a governing body, we've made it very, very welcoming for developers to have projects that were within the price point that our constituents can afford through the use of incentives. So I'm really proud of the fact that West Palm Beach really has has, made great strides in providing housing for our workforce, for our firefighters, our police officers, our teachers, and all of our workers that's affordable, especially downtown. And we've got some great projects coming up. And I'm really looking forward to getting those online and having those homes available for our workforce.
Thank you. And I apologize. It seems like my internet just decided to go kaput as I was speaking. It was working fine earlier. I'm going to go ahead and move on to question number 2. In September of 2020, the city and the International Association of Firefighters declared an impasse after multiple negotiation meetings regarding the collective bargaining agreement. Both parties could not reach an agreement regarding compensation. As a result, both parties will meet with a special magistrate in March. The city is also negotiating its contract with the Fraternal Order of Police. Should there be a citizen oversight committee to provide accountability and transparency of these contracts? Why or why not?
Well, thank you. I'll wait for the timer. Thank you for the question. This is an issue that's near and dear to my heart. I served, as I said, almost 20 years as a volunteer firefighter and a reserve police officer. I have the endorsement of our firefighters and our police officers. So it's certainly an issue that I've remained very, very involved in. And, I'm always for having more citizen involvement in government. I think it's always good to get the input. I was on many advisory boards and committees before I became a commissioner. And sometimes you feel like as a member of those boards, you're just not being heard. But we need to make sure that people do feel heard, that our citizens feel heard, that they feel like they have a seat at the table. So I would be certainly for having something that would provide, assistance when it comes to reviewing those contracts.
Okay, and I just want to remind everyone that's watching tonight, if you have questions, please submit those questions in the answer box, question and answer box here on Zoom, or if you're joining us via Facebook Live, go ahead and put those questions in the live comment section. Moving on to question number 3. Mayor James recently stated the city anticipates a flat or slightly lower revenue forecast for the next fiscal year's budget. Although the mayor proposes the budget, how do you propose the city address a potential shortfall?
That's the $1 million question. We've been dealing obviously with the budget shortfall as the legislative body in West Palm Beach. I've made some recommendations while on the dais. I've suggested to city administration that maybe we have a third party come in and take a look at the operation, kind of from a holistic point of view, a new set of eyes, if you will. To recommend areas of potential savings. Sometimes when you work in an organization for a while, you start seeing things the way they've always been, and it's hard to see things as how they could be. And so I think that we need to, it's going to be a tough task, but I think that maybe we require, some assistance from a third party to take a look at things and decide how we can squeeze the budget, because we've got to make accommodations for our police and fire and make sure they receive, the pay that they deserve, and certainly the rest of our employees.
Okay. The mayor's task force for racial and ethnic equality is working to create a community of opportunity for all. What has the city done to create a more equitable and inclusive community?
I'm waiting for the timer. There we go. Hey, I am excited to be a part of this city commission because, and in the city in general, the administration, because I think we're one of the, on the forefront when it comes to inclusion and equity, from housing, from, the help that we provided to businesses and individuals during the pandemic, to, just the mayor's task force, to having a Hispanic outreach coordinator. There's just so many things, too many things to even mention as to what we've done as a legislative body. You know, in contracts, we make sure that we have minority and women representation. And I think it's working very well. Do we have some roads still to cover? Absolutely, but we're making progress every day.
Thank you for that. Let's see, I am gonna go check and see if we have any questions from the audience. All right, looks like we don't have any questions at this time. So we're gonna move on to closing statements. And so Mr. Peduzzi, you'll have 1 minute to provide us with your closing statement.
Thank you. Again, thank you so much for having this forum. It's too bad we can't be in person, but it's obviously a new world that we're in right now with COVID. I like to tell everyone that I've done my very best as a commissioner to represent your interests. I believe strongly in making sure that we have the best public safety anywhere around. I want to make sure that we remain a city that's inclusive and is equitable. And I'm hoping to have the support of all of our citizens. I know that it's one of those things that you probably can't have the support of everyone, but I thank people who have supported me, all the organizations who supported me, and I'm really looking forward to serving another 2 years as the West Palm Beach City Commissioner for District 4.
Well, thank you, Mr. Peduzzi, so much for joining us this evening. I am going to turn it back over to Noel Martinez to introduce our candidates for the West Palm Beach City Commission District 2 race.
All right, well, thank you, Denise, great job. So we are now gonna begin with the second group of candidates for West Palm Beach City Commission District 2. The candidates for this district are Mr. Deandre Poole and Ms. Shalonda Warren. Both of them are with us tonight. Each candidate is going to have 2 minutes for an opening statement. Ms. Warren, we're going to begin with you. Let me see here. I think we're ready to go. If you're ready to go, please begin when the timer starts.
Hi, my name is Shalonda Warren. I am a citizen of the great city of West Palm Beach. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for hosting this event this evening. I have been a resident of the city of West Palm Beach and, a resident of Florida for approximately 30 years. And I've lived in and around West Palm Beach for the majority of that time, in incorporated and unincorporated West Palm Beach. I have been a business owner. I am a CEO. I'm a mother. I have always been an advocate. I've been a fighter for different people in our community. I've been an outspoken advocate for minority and women participation as it relates to business outcomes. And I know that those business outcomes and the way that women and minorities impact the community affect us at a grassroots level. And I think that it's important that we support them there. I come from a steel mill industry in East Chicago, Indiana, where my father joined the military in order to take his family out of that type of neighborhood and take us into the community where into different communities where I would have the opportunity to learn to embrace people and be inclusive and to understand different cultures and how cultures come together to enhance a community. I have lived all over the world, and I am very happy to say that West Palm Beach is my home. I'm looking forward to serving the city of West Palm Beach. About 10 years ago, I was in a coma, and when I woke up from that coma, I thought about who I was and the type of legacy that I would like to lead. And I made the decision to open a business downtown West Palm Beach. And I have been serving the citizens of West Palm Beach since that time. I've had a business on 3rd and Rosemary, where in our historic Northwest neighborhood. And in the historic Northwest neighborhood, I found the greatest opportunity to serve the greatest good. And I'm looking forward to doing more in the city.
Thank you, Ms. Warren. Mr. Poole, you may start once the timer begins.
And good evening when we all vote, and thank you for hosting this forum. My name is Deandre Poole, candidate for District 2 City Commission. Commissioner Corey Nearing is not seeking re-election, and he has graciously endorsed my candidacy. Unlike my opponent, I am a 27-year resident of West Palm Beach, a homeowner, and I did not just move into my district 6 months ago, but I have been here in District 2 and in this city. In terms of my personal story of who I am, I grew up in an area in West Palm Beach known as Pleasant City. Grew up on public housing. My mom was a single parent who raised myself, my sister, and my brother with the help of my grandparents, my aunts and uncles. My grandparents, especially my grandmothers, were very influential in my life. They were maids and housekeepers and nannies for families, wealthy families in Palm Beach. But they instilled in me that your generation is supposed to do better. So I stand on their shoulders. And because of them pushing education, because of my mom pushing education, I earned my BA and my MA from FAU, my PhD from Howard University. I relocated back to Florida, married my wife, Dr. Stephanie Poole, a local veterinarian and graduate of Tuskegee University. And in terms of my community involvement, I serve as chair of the Criminal Justice Advisory Committee for the City of West Palm Beach, a position I've held for almost 10 years now, maybe 8-10 years. I also serve on the Sales Surtax Advisory Committee. I'm the former chair of the Coalition for Black Student Achievement, president of the Faculty Union at Florida Atlantic University, and the secretary of the Scholastic Achievement Foundation of Palm Beach County. I am running to be that independent voice on the City Commission. Corey Nearing is supporting me, and he believes in me because West Palm Beach deserves and needs that independent voice. Thank you.
Okay, well, I have the pleasure of starting off with the general questions. So what's going to happen is I will ask the first question to Mr. Poole. Mr. Poole, you will have 60 seconds to answer the question. After you're finished, Ms. Warren, you will get 60 seconds to respond. And then Mr. Poole, you will get 20 seconds for a rebuttal, okay? So the first question, one of the city's biggest treasures is the Grassy Waters Preserve, which also supplies the city's drinking water. Do you support the city's efforts to mitigate the adverse environmental impacts of the State Road 7 project on Grassy Waters Preserve? Why or why not?
Yes to the question. I think that we need to protect the Grassy Waters Reserve. We need to protect the city's water supply. We need, and I support the city's effort to stop State Road 7. And in terms of a citywide issue, we need to think of it that way. It's not just an issue for IBIS, but it's a citywide issue because that's the city's water supply. And if that road is allowed to go through, that would damage our ecosystem. It would damage the wildlife and human life.
Thank you. Ms. Warren, you have 60 seconds.
I stand with the city and with the support of the Grassy Waters Preserve. The Grassy Water Preserve is something that I have supported for many years. As a matter of fact, when the issue came before the county and the Florida Department of Transportation, I stood in opposition of expanding State Road 7. And this was more than 12 years ago. So my support of preserving the Grassy Waters Preserve is something that is not new. I didn't just start this conversation. This is something where I have put in action and been present and been on the record stating that I oppose the expansion of State Road 7. So
Okay.
all of the city's efforts in protecting the Grassy Waters Preserve.
Okay, and Mr. Poole, if you'd like, you have 20 seconds for a rebuttal or further comment. And I just ask that you wait until the timer begins.
Yes, as I said before, I support working to stop the extension of State Road 7. We have to protect the city's water supply.
Thank you. All right, so on to question number 2. This question is going to be addressed to Ms. Warren. In September 2020, the city and the International Association of Firefighters declared an impasse after multiple negotiation meetings regarding the collective bargaining agreement. Both parties could not reach an agreement regarding compensation. As a result, both parties will meet with a special magistrate in March. The city is also negotiating its contract with the Fraternal Order of Police. Should there be a citizen oversight committee to provide accountability and transparency of these contracts? Why or why not? And you'll have 60 seconds for this question. I just ask that you wait for the timer.
Thank you. There should absolutely be a citizen oversight review committee. It is unfortunate that we have not come to a decision and been able to move forward with the contract negotiations. It is important that we look at where the city falls as it relates to firefighter compensation as well as the police officer compensation. I am aware that our starting pay for police officers is currently ranked 18th out of 22 municipalities. We are the city seat, and it's important that we set a standard and that standard is followed by others. And I'm looking for the opportunity for us to come to a consensus and move forward so that we can protect our city and we can protect through the collective bargaining agreement.
Thank you. And Mr. Poole, you have 60 seconds.
As a union president, I certainly agree that we should have some form of an oversight advisory committee. I will tell you that what we don't want to do is to politicize the collective bargaining process. I think that the collective bargaining teams representing the unions and the staff need to be able to have those kinds of conversations. And we don't want to put police and fire against citizens in the city, and we don't want to politicize it with the city commission. So I think that certainly I support an advisory committee of some type, but we just have to be mindful of that. And yes, our police and fire are paid some of the lowest paid in the county, and we lose a lot of talent to other municipalities. So we need to pay them the top as the county flagship city. We need to pay them the top salary.
Thank you. And Ms. Warren, you have 20 seconds for a rebuttal or further comment.
Thank you. I would just like to be clear that we need to make sure that compensation is competitive. We don't want our city to become a training ground so that first responders go to other cities. Citizen involvement is always important, and I am open to the idea. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Warren. And just a quick reminder for those of you that are tuned in at home, please make sure to submit your questions in the question and answer box right here on Zoom or in the Facebook Live comments. So let's get back into some other questions. I get to ask the next couple questions. So this one is going to be for Dr. Poole. We're going to start with you. Question number 3. It's no secret that West Palm Beach has a large homeless population in the downtown area. What are some long-term solutions and resources to address homelessness in West Palm Beach?
Well, I would say that I think the city commission got it right. I think that we need to make sure the downtown area is safe. I think the commission got it right. We need to make sure that the downtown area is safe for families and for folks who want to go and shop and go and eat. I do think the policy in terms of not penalizing families who unfortunately are homeless, who sleep in their cars, was the way to go. We need more mental health resources. We need more housing resources, and we need more assistance with making sure we can help these folks find employment as well. They're our citizens, and we have to do everything we can to have some empathy and some compassion for these individuals. But urinating and defecating on public property is never acceptable, and we need to do everything we can to stop that.
Thank you, Dr. Poole. Ms. Warren, you may respond. You have 60 seconds, and I will remind everyone to please wait for the timer.
Thank you. I think the city took a bold move in making the changes that were necessary to address homelessness. I think it may not have been popular, but it's certainly the right thing to do. We understand that there are many issues that impact homelessness, and there are different levels and different types of homelessness. And it's important that we, on the very front end, that we allow assessments. I'm proud of the city for implementing a czar and adding employees that would be able to go in and make the assessments and do the things that are necessary to provide the assistance for our homeless citizens, so that they can get the resources that they need to gain access to shelter, or the resources that they need to get help for mental health or drug abuse or addiction. Without the steps that the city made, that piece of the pie was unattended. And so I support everything that they're doing, and I'm looking forward to us making progress and improving the situation.
Thank you, Ms. Warren. Dr. Poole, you have 20 seconds to respond.
I would just continue to echo those sentiments. I know that we should put more resources into folks to work in the downtown area. I know that there are 2 police officers that have been working in downtown, talking to and building relationships with some of our homeless populations and working to get them into treatment programs, and it's working.
All right, let's get into question number 4, and this is going to be addressed to Ms. Warren. And we're going to ask you the same question we asked Mr. Peduzzi. Mayor Keith Jean recently stated that the city anticipates a flat or slightly lower revenue forecast for the next fiscal year's budget. Although the mayor proposes the budget, how do you propose the city addresses the potential shortfall? You have, please wait for the timer here. I think it's coming on any second. There we go.
We need to take a closer look at ways that we can save money. It's when I look at the budget, because it is public material, I see an overview, and I would love to see that the city takes a deep dive into the departmental budgets to be able to identify where there may be opportunities to take funds and reallocate them appropriately. When we look at the broad spectrum and we paint it with a broad brush, it is hard to find the finite resources that are there. And I do believe that there are opportunities where we can go in with that deep dive and understand how we can make those reallocations, make them more purposeful, so that we can continue to fulfill the obligations and serve the city and ensure that we've protected our city and our citizens and our property.
All right, thank you, Dr. Poole. You may respond. You have 60 seconds.
Thank you. I agree with Commissioner Peduzzi. I think we need, and I'll just go a step further and say that we need a third party to come in. I think we need to turn the books over. I think by turning the books over, having a third neutral party, look for areas within the budget that we can save, where we can save money, where we can allocate money to other line items in the city. I think that's the way to go. I think not only will that demonstrate transparency to the public, but it will also help to, as commissioners, help us to engage the public in what they think in terms of the budget and how the city should allocate its funds. And so I'm for a third party review. Thank you.
Ms. Warren, you've got 20 seconds if you'd like to respond to that.
I would like to say that the city has a lot of projects that are coming to fruition. And I'm looking forward to those projects creating jobs and creating additional revenue that our city needs. These projects will increase our tax base, and we can look at how we can use that tax money to assist the city as warranted.
All right, and I have the pleasure of asking you both the last question. And this question will go to Mr. Poole first. In your capacity, in your occupation or organization, what is the most significant accomplishment for Black people?
Well, I would say in my experience, the most significant accomplishment has been the way we've organized and supported efforts in the community to be able to advocate for resources and services that we need. And the case in point, I was a part of the Unify organization committed to social justice and equity for Black people in Palm Beach County. And we advocated and supported the 1 cent sales tax. And part of that sales tax money has been used, I know in West Palm Beach in particular, because I serve on the sales tax surtax advisory committee. It's been used to refurbish Pleasant City Community Center, used to also rebuild aspects of the Coleman Park Community Center, as well as the Gaines Park Community Center. So I'm fortunate to be a part of that group that pushed and advocated for that sales tax money, and we're seeing our work pay off.
Thank you. And Ms. Warren, you have 60 seconds to respond once the timer starts.
Thank you. In my current position, I had the opportunity to work for one of the longest standing Black run nonprofits in the county. When I started working with the organization, we were operating in the red, and I had to make very tough decisions in order to bring the organization back into the Black so that we can continue to serve the vulnerable population. The greatest contribution that I think that I've made as a member of the Sickle Cell Foundation is our continuous improvement and results of Black infant mortality, ensuring that our babies have a healthy birth outcome, working to decrease the disparity gap in those birth outcomes so that our babies can live to see their first birthday and have the greatest opportunity for a healthy, strong, and safe life. During my time at the Sickle Cell Foundation, we have worked to create our own curriculum so that we can go out further into the community, and we have expanded into to Martin County, and we now cover a 5-county area.
Thank you. And Mr. Poole, you have 20 seconds to respond.
Well, I would say that I think that I've talked to some of the people that work for the Sickle Cell Foundation, and many of them have felt that they've not been treated right under Ms. Warren. There have been times when their paychecks have bounced. So I think that there's a lot that Ms. Warren says that she's done, but we need to really look more into it.
Okay. So at this time, we are going to take some questions from the audience. We do have a few that have come in. And because the last question began with Mr. Poole, I'm going to direct the first audience question to Ms. Warren. And that question is, what do you think is the most important issue for the city of West Palm Beach?
I think the important issue for West Palm Beach is affordable housing. Affordable housing has plagued our community for a very long time. It's important that we bring in housing that our first responders can live in, that will provide a quality of life, that will be open to the teachers and the nurses and people that have had challenges living close to downtown and have been driven further away from our community, further away from our city center. I'm fortunate that I've been a part of a project called The Grand. And The Grand is a mixed use, mixed income structure that is coming to the heart of the Northwest neighborhood, where we will provide mixed income housing that will address the workforce housing issue. We've received the support of the city as part of one of the city's several initiatives. I'm very happy that we've broken ground on this project, and I'm looking forward to seeing people moving into our community and contributing to the growth of the Northwest neighborhood.
Thank you. And I forgot to mention, for these questions from the audience, each candidate has 1 minute to respond. The next audience question I'm going to pose to Mr. Poole, and that is, what have you done to advocate for workforce housing in the city? And if elected, what would you do?
Well, I'll address the question that this project, The Grand, that Ms. Warren spoke of. This particular project, the lowest rent is $1,100. I don't consider this to be workforce housing because each level goes up. There are only a certain amount of units for this project that are allocated for low-income wage earners, for example. And $1,100, for some people, that's a mortgage. So I think we need to look at, this is, in my opinion, another form of gentrification in the area. For that project to come into the Northwest community, 18 properties, or maybe not 18, but about 8 properties were purchased for this particular project. That's an example of gentrification, and that's going to change the fabric of the community. We need infill housing. We need more projects with Habitat for Humanity. And I think those are just 2 examples that I would follow.
Okay, and for this last question, before we turn it back over to Noel for closing statements, Ms. Warren, I'm actually going to ask you the same question that was just posed to Mr. Poole. What have you done to advocate for workforce housing in the city? And if elected, what would you do? And you'll have 1 minute once the timer begins.
Thank you. I've looked comprehensively at the city's supply of, the CRA's supply of parcels. And I'm looking forward to utilizing those 98 parcels to work collaboratively with nonprofit organizations to increase the amount of home ownership in the neighborhood. It's important that we address home ownership in the community because I also believe that that's going to contribute to several other factors, including safety and other issues. So I'm currently addressing the workforce housing issue with staff at the city in a capacity of a volunteer. And I'm looking forward to continuing that work as the new city commissioner. And I would also like to say that the statement that Mr. Deandre Poole made about the Sickle Cell Foundation not paying its staff, I've stated that we were in the red when I became the CEO, and we are solidly in the black. And I will continue to lead the agency in a way that is prosperous and that we are solvent.
Thank you both for answering those questions from our audience. Noel?
All right, so now let's get into some closing statements. We're going to start with Ms. Warren. You're going to go first. Then we're going to finish off with Dr. Poole. You're each going to have 60 seconds. Please wait for the timer to begin. Ms. Warren, whenever you're ready or whenever the timer's ready.
Thank you. Again, my name is Shalonda Warren, and I am a candidate for District 2. Thank you very much for allowing us the opportunity to speak today. I am a mom, I'm a public servant, I'm a CEO. I believe that my background in banking and business management are going to be complementary to the dais. I am happy to say that I have been endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police, by the mayor of the city, Mayor Keith James, by the former mayor, Mayor Jerry Moyo. I've been endorsed by Christina Lambert, by State Senator Bobby Powell, by County Commissioner Mac Bernard, School District Member Dr. Deborah Robinson, School District Member Alexandria Ayana, Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robertson, the former City Commissioner Ike Robinson, Mayor Steve Wilson, Vice Mayor Mark Wilkinson, Tammy Jackson Moore, Councilman Doug Lawson, Trodrick McCoy, Emma Banks, and a host of others that know that I have the skills that are necessary to continue to move the city forward. I'm looking forward to being your next city commissioner. And I know that it is collaboration and relationships that will help us move the city forward.
Thank you, Ms. Warren. All right, Dr. Poole, you now have 60 seconds.
The employees that I've talked to from the Sickle Cell Foundation have said they never have received a bounced paycheck under previous executive directors. And I wish we still had our sickle cell building, which is shut up now because of the inside damage that happened under Ms. Warren's watch. In terms of my endorsement, I've been endorsed by State Rep Omari Hardy, Commissioner Corey Nearing, Commissioner Joe Anderson, Commissioner Jean Enright, Commissioner Catherine Waldron, Commissioner Kashamba Miller, Commissioner Addie Green, Commissioner Vice Mayor Lawrence Gordon, former State Senator Kevin Rader, County Commissioner Paulette Burdick, County Commissioner Priscilla Taylor, former Supervisor Susan Booker, Ms. Edith Bush, Ms. Ann Harrison Nelson, and a host of others. They support me because they know I will be the independent voice on the City Commission, just like Commissioner Corey Nearing, who is supporting me because he knows that I'm the best candidate to serve the residents of West Palm Beach.
All right, well, thank you, Dr. Poole. Thank you, Ms. Warren. We really appreciate you spending some time with us this evening, excuse me. I'm now gonna turn it over to Ms. Angela Cruz to review our poll questions and introduce our moderators for the Delray Beach Forum.
Thank you so much to both our moderators. We're now going to take it to the polls. You're going to see 10 poll questions on the screen. Please answer them as they come up. We have about 2 minutes to answer the questions. You guys are all going to see polling questions on your Zoom screen. Please just click on the answer and it will take you to the next question. I see some people putting in answers now. That's great to see. Perfect. We have more answers coming in. Okay, we have about 20 people who've answered the questions. If you see the questions on the screen, we really want to get everybody's participation if possible. We're just going to wait a few more seconds to go over the answers. Okay, perfect. We have reached our 2 minutes as an opportunity to get some answers to our questions. I'm going to go ahead and go over every single question that we have. Question number 1, is it important that the neighborhoods share in city success? 100% of the people answered yes. Question number 2, do you feel COVID should be administered to all citizens, regardless if seasonal or year-round? About 68% of the people answered yes, 32% answered no. Question number 3, what is the biggest concern in your community? We have 4 options. We have public safety at 36%, homelessness at 14%, water quality at 27%, and affordable housing at 23%. Question number 4 is protecting our city water supply an important issue to you? 95% of the people in the poll answered yes, and 5% answered no. Question number 5, rate our current city commission. Excellent, good, neutral, or needs improvement. Excellent, 9%. Good, 36%. Neutral, 41%. Needs improvement, 14%. Question number 6, how would you rate public safety? Excellent, 27%. Good, 45%. Neutral, 27%. And no one voted for needs improvement. Question number 7, do you think racial equity is a major issue that needs to be addressed in our community? 95% answered yes, and 5% answered no. Question number 8, do you see the next generation having a secure future? 23% answered yes, and 77% answered no. Question number 9, Do you feel workforce housing should be a priority in our city, workforce housing? 82% answered yes, and 18% answered no. Question number 10. Do you feel forums of this type are effective? We had 100% of the people polled answer yes. Thank you all for participating. I'm gonna go ahead and introduce part 2, the Delray Beach Forum. The moderators will be Cheryl Haywood and attorney Herman Stevens Jr. Ms. Haywood was raised in Northern Virginia and moved to Delray in 2014. She is the 4th generation of her family to reside in the village by the sea and has served her community in a variety of ways. She recently worked for the Palm Beach County Supervisor of Elections Office to prepare for the 2020 presidential election. She's an active member of the South Palm Beach County Alumni Chapter of the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Attorney Herman Stevens Jr. is a criminal defense attorney in private practice. With 20 years of trial experience, he practices criminal defense and personal injury claims. He has developed and maintained strong and professional relationships with assistant state attorneys, judges, and court staff to secure favorable dispositions to cases. He has tried in excess of 100 cases to verdict. Now we'll go over to our moderators.
Thank you, Ms. Cruz, for those introductions. And thank you to our viewing audience for joining us for part 2 of tonight's candidate forum. We will hear from candidates for the following seats: Delray Beach Commission Seat 1, Delray Beach Commission Seat 3, and Delray Beach Commission Seat 5, which is also known as the seat for mayor. For each race, each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement. We will then move on to a question and answer block. Take it away, Attorney Stevens.
Thank you very, very much, Haywood. We will now begin with the first group of candidates, which will consist of candidates for Delray Beach Commission District 1. Candidates for this district are Commissioner Adam Frankel and Price Patton. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement. Mr. Frankel, we will begin with you. Please begin after the timer starts.
Good evening. I'm looking for the timer.
That's all right. Go ahead. Take the initiative.
Okay, there it is. Good evening. My name is Adam Frankel. I am your current city commissioner for seat number 1. I'm originally from Toledo, Ohio. Moved to Delray Beach in 1998. And that's when I started a great profession at the Palm Beach County Public Defender's Office. And I worked alongside and was trained by a young attorney back then by the name of Herman Stevens, who taught me. I wonder
who that is.
I spent 3 years there and a great experience getting to know the court personnel, getting to know the prosecutors and the judges. It was fabulous. I spent 3 years there and went into private practice where I currently maintain a job right now. I first was elected to the Delray Beach City Commission in 2009. I spent 6 years then, was term limited, and then 3 years ago, I ran for re-election. I was successful. We have many, many good things in the city of Delray Beach. I think along with the men and women that spoke before us this evening, from the candidates for the West Palm Beach positions, obviously there's a lot of challenges between homelessness, aggressive panhandling, budgetary issues, COVID issues. And I really believe, based on my experience, it is necessary to maintain leadership, people who know how to get things done, and that would be me. Also, the major thing that we are running on is civility. There's been much turnover at City Hall, and I have been recognized through city staff, our first responders, as being that commissioner who they can talk to, they can rely on, and is civil on the dais. So I'm very, very happy to be here tonight, and I look forward to participating. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Mr. Patton, we'll give you that same opportunity. You have 2 minutes to go ahead and make an opening statement. You can go ahead and start when the timer begins. If you don't see it, take the lead and go ahead anyway. You got to unmute yourself, Mr. Patton. There you go.
Can you hear me now? Yeah, I
I
don't
can hear
see.
you very well.
So I'll keep it to 2 minutes. So good evening and thank you for the forum. I am a 33-year resident of Delray Beach. I love this city and I love giving back to the city. I served on the Site Plan Review and Appearance Board. I've served 2 terms on the Historic Preservation Board, and I'm also a board member and volunteer at Paul's Place, which for the last 12 years I have mentored and helped Haitian American children in our Northwest neighborhood. I am a veteran of the Palm Beach Post. I think I might have covered one of your trials or so at some point. And after I retired in 2008, I helped co-found the Coastal Star. I've been fighting to save historic properties in Delray Beach for a long time because I think that helps us maintain our character of the city. One of my other projects has been working for several years to preserve the former all black Carver High School, which was, I think, in West Palm Beach, Roosevelt High is being preserved. We're trying to do that in Delray Beach. I will work hard to be responsive to the concerns of the residents and keep Delray a special place. And I think I will bring a fresh but seasoned voice to the City Commission dialogue. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Patton. All right, we're going to move now to our questions. The same question will be asked of both candidates. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond. Please wait for the time to begin before you begin. We will rotate who goes first. The first candidate to respond to each question will also be given 20 seconds to rebut the second candidate's response. The question 1 will go to you, Mr. Patton. Since the retirement of former city manager David Harden back in 2013, the city has had 8 city managers, including interim managers. How do you ensure due diligence in researching the right candidate? And how can you change the culture to attract and keep the right leader?
In my 25 years at the Palm Beach Post, I hired dozens and dozens of reporters. I'm a good judge of character. I'm a good judge of talent. I always used to try and surround myself with the smartest people I could, because I think that helps drive everyone to do better and smarter work. My opponent has been on the commission through, I don't know, everyone except Harden perhaps, and maybe he was even on there for Harden. So he might have he's the one who probably should answer why there is so many people going through. But I think the way the commission, I will agree that the commission has set up a good system to choose our next city manager. I think we can attract a bright, talented city manager and let him give him or her the tools they need.
All right, thank you very much. Commissioner Frankel, you have 60 seconds to respond.
Sure. Well, first, Mr. Patton again misstates my positions because I wasn't on the commission through 2015 through 2018. Now, the latest city manager, Mr. Gretzis, I voted against him and I voted against his contract. We had a 3-person majority to hire a gentleman from Tamarack. I also voted against Mr. Gretz's contract. Why? Based on the advice of our city attorney. She said, do not take this guy's contract on. It's bad for the city. Well, look what happened. Unfortunately, things didn't work out. I think other candidates had a say in that, unfortunately. And we do need better people at City Hall. The good news is right now we have an interim city manager by the name of Jennifer Alvarez. During the middle of the pandemic, she's doing an amazing, amazing job. She has hired some great, great people. So we are in good hands. Who knows what we're going to do with the future full-time city manager, but right now we're in good shape.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Patton, do you have an opportunity to give another statement, 20 seconds to respond?
Real quick, yes. The previous city manager, previous full-time, Mark Lozier, my opponent gave him a glowing review, and then some facts came out, and 2 weeks later, he was among those city commissioners voting to terminate Mr. Lozier.
Thank you very much. All right, this next question will go to you, Commissioner Frankel.
Yes, sir.
All right. How would you describe the water issues in Delray Beach? And how would you address the concerns of your constituents and bring it to its highest quality?
Right now, we have a gentleman who is managing the situation, the utilities director. He's doing a great job. What we've been told is every 3 hours, the water's tested. It's safe to drink. I drink my water. The one thing I wouldn't do, though, is what the city has done is hired a PR firm from Broward County who's trying to put out a message and saying that everything is hunky-dory. I had nothing to do with that. I spoke to the young lady at the PR firm, and I just stated what I'll state right now. My water's okay to drink. It's not fair for me to say if your water's fair to drink. At your office, Herman, on Fifth Avenue, I have no idea. I haven't drank your water. So I think it's irresponsible for any messaging to be put out that everyone's water is safe. Obviously, there's issues. We'll get through it. We got great personnel that are looking into it, and I'm not going to micromanage them. I'm going to let them do their job, and we'll get this situation rectified. And I don't know about the timer, but it went off.
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
60 seconds to respond, Mr. Patton. Your response?
Yeah. You know, this is one of the areas Adam and I agree. We both drink the water here, and I don't live too near Adam. So I think we need to explore getting a new water plant, a new utility. It's a multi-million-dollar investment. The real problem, I live on the barrier island, and the real problem over here was the reclaimed water problem, which is what led to these kind of widespread fears that there was something bad about the water. It wasn't all the water in town. It was the 500 people hooked up to the reclaimed water system, which was totally mismanaged for the last 10 or 15 years. Again, no fault of anyone on the city commission, just the fault of poor administration and management. So I think the water is fine. Can it be better? Sure. But, you know, like Adam said, they tested every 3 hours. So that's probably good enough for me.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Frankel, 20-second response, if you like.
No, thank you. Again, you just got to put out the message that if it's safe for most people, if you have a problem, you got to call a number. We'll get, as a city, someone out there to make sure that everything is taken care of. But like I said, my water's safe, and I'm hoping for the majority of the residents it is as well.
All right, thank you very much. Just a quick little note here to all the citizens who are viewing this debate this evening. And to those who are tuning in, please submit your audience question in the question and answer box here on Zoom or in the Facebook Live comments. All right, and we'll get back to those at the very, very end of the questions that are being asked right now. So let's go back now. All right, Mr. Patton, we're going to go with you on the next question. Leaders have a responsibility to shift priorities quickly during an emergency. What have you done to assist the Delray Beach community during this COVID crisis?
I have been, working to preserve our historic past. I am unfortunately in one of the age groups that is most susceptible to the COVID. So I've been lying low, but I have been. I've helped. I'm trying to support our local businesses by shopping locally. I'm trying to support our local restaurants. We've got 85 businesses either side of Atlantic Avenue, our main drag, that have closed due to the pandemic. So I'm doing a little bit. I guess I could be doing more, but I'm hoping that when we all get the vaccine, the city can begin pulling out of it. And I'm willing to roll up my sleeves then and go to work.
Commissioner Frankel, 60 seconds to respond.
Sure. I mean, it's amazing we're coming up on a year on this, and hopefully we're getting to the end. Right now, as I see it, the city has really done a great job trying to get information out there, trying to assist people. Our hands are somewhat tied based on Governor DeSantis issuing executive orders that limits what cities can do. What I do, I always wear masks. That is the number one thing everyone can do. If you go outside, just wear a mask. We need to assist our businesses. My opponent brought up Atlantic Avenue. They're doing somewhat better than other streets in our city. People are downtown. There's, in my view, too many people. However, we have other areas of the city that our businesses are struggling, and those are the ones that we need to assist. We also need to not encourage huge gatherings. My colleagues last week they decided to approve a event that looks like it's going to bring 800 people downtown. I voted against it. I respect their decisions, but to me, it's just a little bit too soon about that. And most importantly, we need to get everyone vaccinated.
All right, thank you very much. Just a quick question for the both of you all, and you all can answer. Clearly, you know, the pandemic is a very, very serious issue, and there's a concern by a number of citizens that if you go down probably the city of Delray on maybe a Friday or a Saturday evening, Sunday, the streets are just loaded with individuals. Some have no masks at all, and there's a question about safety. And my question to both of the candidates is, you know, what is your viewpoint on this? You know, we can't get a handle on this until we get the numbers down, but it looks like a lot of people are just not taking this very seriously. So what are your thoughts on it? I'll give both of you a minute.
Who's first? Oh, go ahead, Bryce.
Let's go with you. Let's go with Mr. Pat. Go ahead.
Hey, yeah, it's frustrating to see. I mean, it's sometimes you think it was like the height of the season 2 years ago, where the streets are packed, the restaurants are packed. I think all you can really do is to keep trying to spread the message, because our hands are tied. We cannot, because of the governor's fiat, we cannot order residents to wear masks in Delray Beach. That's the safest thing. That's the most sensible thing. In fact, now the CDC is saying you should double up on your masks. You know, I wear a mask everywhere I go. I think some people think they're invincible to the virus. And I'm just praying we can get through this, and when we all get vaccinated.
Commissioner Frankel, your thoughts?
Sure. I mean, to me, it's kind of a product of our ages as well as our environment. I live and I work downtown just off Atlantic Avenue. When I walk somewhere for lunch, picked up lemongrass the other day, I wear a mask. Everyone looks at me like I'm nuts. If I go out west to a great deli called Poppy's, which is on the corner of Lytton and Congress, Lytton and Military. People wear masks out there because it's an older crowd. I went to visit my parents in Toledo, Ohio. There's really no indoor dining and everyone's eating outside and people wear masks. I don't know if it's a Florida thing, an age thing, but certainly when I see it, and you know, Herman, you're dead on when you say it. When you go up down Atlantic Avenue and some of our restaurants and bars, these young kids, for the most part, do not want to wear masks, even though that's the simplest thing you can do. And that's the most considerate thing you can do for your fellow guest or resident or tourist. So I wish there was more we can do. We're kind of handcuffed, but hopefully we can get people vaccinated and get to the end of this thing.
I thank you both for your responses. Let's go to the next question. This one is for you, Commissioner Frankel. Delray Beach is greater than the city blocks encompassing downtown. What are your plans to address the diverse community beyond downtown?
Sure. Well, yeah, obviously, as you know, Herman, where your office is, the Northwest Southwest neighborhoods. And, you know, we have adopted a comprehensive plan, which is great for infrastructure and sets out some goals going by. But me individually, I've really worked on my communication and getting to sit down with the local residents, finding out what issues are. I have to give credit to Mr. Boylston, my colleague on the city commission. He is amazing when it comes to this. So I'm trying to follow his lead to have lunch, have dinner, find out what's going on in the Northwest Southwest neighborhoods. We're having a little bit of a hiccup with the 600, 700, 800 blocks. We put the developer as the CRA on notice that they're in default. Hopefully we can come to some agreement going forward, because that really is a catalyst, the gateway right off of 95. And it would be huge for the community, bringing a grocery store and many other housing and other commercial opportunities. So we got work to do. That's no question about that, though.
Thank you, Commissioner Frankel. Mr. Patton, 60 seconds to respond.
Yeah, the big turnaround, you know, the CRA was created in 1986 with the mission to attack blight. And it twiddled its thumbs and looked the wrong way for many, many, many years. I think the turnaround was when the city commission decided to take over the appointed CRA board, because after all, it's all tax money that the board works with. I have been involved in projects in the Northwest and the Southwest neighborhoods. I'm getting to know the people there. I've worked with Paula Rocker, like I said, on the Carver High Restoration Project. I think that's a good project. I think the CRA has enough money and willpower to take that over and really turn that into a shrine in the Southwest neighborhood. for our Black residents. But finally, I think we're going in the right direction with the CRA.
Thank you very much. 20 seconds to respond, Commissioner Frank, if you so choose.
Sure, my opinion differs a little bit. 3 years ago, the City Commission became the board members along with 2 residents from the Northwest, Southwest neighborhoods to make up a 7-person board. If it was up to me, I would bring before my colleagues on the City Commission to reverse that, to have 5 residents of the Northwest, Southwest neighborhoods and 2 elected officials to go forward on the CRA in the future.
All right, thank you very much. The next question is for you, Mr. Patton. There continues to be a need for attainable, affordable, and workforce housing in Delray Beach. How can city leaders help to alleviate this challenge?
Well, I think there are several projects in the pipeline right now. And as a member of the SPRAD board, I had some concerns about it, but I voted for them because they're both are providing workforce and actually there's 3 in the pipeline. They're all providing workforce and low income housing. There's one at the corner of Congress and Atlantic. There's one at the corner of Congress and Germantown Road. I'm not sure of the traffic implications, but we need to provide housing for our frontline workers. And once this pandemic is over, for our nurses and policemen and firemen and teachers. I think this is a good start. We had to hold the developers to the promises of providing more housing, more variety of housing. A lot of them wanted to just provide 20% of the housing would either be one room or studio apartments. We made them do it across the spectrum. So there's as many 3-bedroom affordable houses as there are efficiency affordable houses. I believe that's true in all 3 of the instances.
All right, thank you very much. 60 seconds to respond.
Sure, I'm glad Mr. Patton supported that when he was on the SPRAD board because he was my nomination for that board. So he's dead on. We really need more workforce housing in our city. We've had a couple projects that I'm really proud of that we approved as the City Commission. Obviously on Linton Avenue, the Menon project, 277 units of great apartments, 55 apartments or 20% will be workforce. And as Mr. Patton stated, also on Congress in West Atlantic, we approved that. It was a little closer vote though. Here's what I hear. We have police officers, men and women that are first responders in the fire department, EMT, teachers. They want to live in Delray. They want to be able to have a 1 or 2 minute commute to work, but they can't afford places in the city right now. So as a City Commission, I and my colleagues have made that a priority, that any new construction, whether they be apartment complexes, condos, anything coming before us, they have to have 20% of workforce housing. And I think it's going to serve the city well.
Thank you very much. Any response there, Mr. Patton?
No, Adam and I are in agreement on this one, as strange as it may seem.
All right, thank you very much. We're going to now go to questions. I'm looking at the questions right now. This is from an anonymous attendee, and it says here, Commissioner Frankel, you serve on one of the city's pension boards. No other commissioner or the mayor serves on a local board. Have you taken trips or as pension board member, and has the city or the pension board paid for your travel costs?
Sure. I had started in 2008 as a trustee for the Police and Fire Pension Fund. I was actually the only non-police, non-fire person that was picked by the board to be the chairperson. For the last couple of years, I've been on the General Employees Pension Board as a trustee. Part of our due diligence is education. I am a certified trustee with the Florida Public Pension Trustee Association, and they maintain our certification through the state. We need to have educational conferences, a lot in Orlando, they're within the state. But yes, the pension board does encourage all its trustees as well to be educated, to find out what's going on so they can make sure they do their due diligence and maintain their fiduciary responsibilities for members of the plan.
All right, you want to respond to that? You want to chime in on that one there? Have anything in response or anything you'd like to add to that, Mr. Patton?
No, I mean, there's nothing really to add. Thank you.
All right. to ask another question here. The relationship between the African-American community and law enforcement has been challenging, to put it mildly, and that's across the spectrum of America. Unfortunately, too frequently, a number of African-Americans have lost their lives. To name a few: Breonna Taylor, Eric Garner, and George Floyd. Many times there is no accountability. Sometimes due to an outcry, the response comes way too late. And on rare occasions, there are actual arrests. Many municipalities have now adopted what we call civil review boards. The purpose is accountability. The purpose is to act as an independent civil oversight board dealing with complaints and concerns of questionable actions by law enforcement with regards to its citizens. Let's start with you. I'll give you 1 minute if you need it, Mr. Patton. Will you support the enactment in the city of Delray of a civil review board?
Yes, it would depend. I certainly would, because I think outside objective review is important in any instance. And I know that there is, I've been with Paula Rocker, and we've gone around town, and there's some places she doesn't feel comfortable. I don't think anybody should feel uncomfortable in their hometown. And I think a review board would be good. I don't know what the empowerment would be. I think the city has taken some, Javaro Sims, the chief, has taken some good proactive stands. He's gotten all the police officers wearing the cameras. So to record and document interactions and incidents. But I certainly would support the creation of a civil review board pending, exactly how it would be constituted.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Frankel, your thoughts on the civil review board?
Sure. Well, I agree with Mr. Patton about the body cameras. I was on the city commission, and we voted for that because we do want accountability. For the last 20 years, I've worked as a criminal defense attorney, and many African Americans that I represented, particularly in the public defender's office, the treatment is overwhelmingly targeted to young African American males, no question about it. And Mr. Stevens, you forgot to mention Corey Jones. Corey Jones was a local Delray gentleman. His murder on the side of 95 is just horrendous. Just to me, as the same level as what happened to George Floyd. I remember seeing many members of the community walking down West Atlantic Avenue to City Hall for that protest. But to answer your specific question, we have great city boards and committees in the city of Delray Beach. They help us govern. They give the city commission information and opinions. And I think this would be a great idea. And I think it would work well going forward.
So that means you will be in support of a civil review board here in the city of Delray. Yes?
Sure. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right, we can take it back now to my co-host, Ms. Cheryl Hayward.
I think we need to do the closing statement first.
I'm sorry. I do apologize. I got caught up in the moment. Lastly, we'll have closing statements. Now we're going to start with you, Commissioner Frankel. You can go first. Then we'll be followed by you, Mr. Patton. 60 seconds to respond. Commissioner Frankel, you go ahead with your closing statement.
Sure, Mr. Stevens, thank you for having me. And Price, it's always good to see you. It was better last night in person. We had matching outfits on. It was fun. But, the one thing, Mr. Patton and I, we have spirited discussions, and I have great respect for him, and hopefully it's mutual. But just like the other candidates, I'll go through some of my endorsements. I've been endorsed by our police, fire, employees, Economic Council of Palm Beach County, the Palm Beach County Human Rights Council, Rusty Gordon LGBTQ, Democratic Caucus, the Democratic Club of Boca and Delray Beach, as well as U.S. Congressman Ted Deutsch, State Senator Lori Berman, former Senator Kevin Rader, our State Attorney David Ehrenberg, Clerk of Court Joseph Abruzzo, Tax Collector Ann Gannon, 6 former mayors, 3 former city commissioners, and 3 current county commissioners. I have their support. I hope I can get some support from your listeners tonight. VoteFrankel.com is our website. It's been great being with you this evening. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Patton.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Frankel. Mr. Patton?
I frankly wasn't sure Adam could squeeze all of his endorsements into 30 seconds. The endorsement I seek are the endorsements from the people. Small business owners up and down Atlantic Avenue have endorsed me. They say they support me. They take my signs. And the real endorsement that I want is an endorsement from the voters. If you look around Delray Beach, most of Adam's signs are in the commercial districts. Most of my signs are in neighborhoods. Like I say, I think I'll bring a fresh but a seasoned voice to the city commission, you know, and I'm taking it to the streets. I've done 1,500 doors, and I plan to visit many more before Election Day. And Election Day just happens to be my birthday. So thank you very much for the opportunity to talk with everyone when all we vote. And I found the discussions spirited and interesting.
And I thank you both for your time this evening. We've enjoyed it. Now, we turn this back over to my co-host, Ms. Cheryl Hayward.
Thank you, Attorney Stevens. At this time, we're going to move on to our next group of candidates, which will consist of candidates for Delray Beach City Commission Seat 3. The candidates for this seat are Vice Mayor Ryan Boylston, who is the incumbent, and Mitch Katz, who's a former city commissioner. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement. Vice Mayor Boylston, we will begin with you. Please begin once the timer starts.
Great. Well, thank you. And it's so good, Cheryl, to see you and Herman. And I don't know if Noel's on anymore, but we go way back with Leadership Palm Beach. So if he's not, then I'm back to having the best hair in the Zoom call. So sorry about that, Noel. So I'm a Florida native, and I moved to Delray Beach after I graduated college. I was the first in my family to do that. And I'm what you call an organic politician. I'm a servant, I'm a leader in our community, and I wanted to be part of the fabric of Delray Beach. And that went from one board to another board to another board to finally for me running for city commission 3 years ago, where I was elected by our voters. As a commissioner, I've been a leader and strong advocate for economic development, regularly leading the conversation on programs to help our businesses during the pandemic, successfully approving over 200 workforce and affordable housing units, which is a record in a 3-year span in Delray Beach history, building relationships with county, state officials, and the school district to partner with Delray Beach and to make sure that we are top of mind. I'm a graduate of Leadership Palm Beach County, a Racial Equity Institute workshop attendee, 2-time National High School Ethics Bowl judge, and I was recently nominated for Inspirational Leader of the Year at our Hometown Heroes Awards. I'm endorsed by 7 Delray Beach former mayors, our firefighters, our police, our SEIU, the Human Rights Council, the Economic Development Council of Palm Beach, and several state and county representatives. And I am so looking forward to continuing to serve Delray Beach because we have a lot more work to do.
All right. Thank you, Vice Mayor Boylston. Mr. Katz, you may start once the timer begins.
Thank you. And thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Herman. Thank you. Great organization for tonight's forum. Good evening. My name is Mitch Katz, and I am running for Delray Beach City Commission Seat 3. I've lived in Delray Beach for 18 years. My wife, Heather, and I are raising our 2 children here, and we care deeply about the future of our city. I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself and how I got here to sit here in front of you on this Zoom call. It's different than yesterday. We got to be face to face. I didn't have the easiest childhood. When I was 5, my mother divorced my father and moved my sister and myself here to Florida. We had absolutely nothing. We slept on the floor. We actually used borrowed silverware and dishes from a neighbor until my mom got a job and was able to get her belongings out of storage. So I know what it's like to come from nothing and earn everything yourself. My father wasn't around. He never paid child support. My mother, on the other hand, was an outstanding role model. She worked hard to provide for us. As a child, my mother enrolled me in different things, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and the scouting program, where I learned many life lessons and leadership skills, even earning my Eagle Scout. And as a scout, what I learned was to collaborate and work well with others to achieve outcomes. At 25, my mother passed away, and I live every day to make her proud. A couple of years later, I was fortunate enough to meet Heather and have 2 beautiful children, Hayden and Shayna. And I also went back to school, got my bachelor's degree and my graduate degree in leadership as well. Then in 2015, after serving many various boards, including my HOA and the City Education Board, I ran for commission and won in 2018. The last 3 years, I've sat back and watched my opponent serve himself, his business, his friends, and his contributors over the interests of residents. So I've decided to ask the voters and give you a better choice for Delray Beach City Commission on seat 3, and I'm honored to be that person.
Thank you, Mr. Katz. Now at this time, we'll move to our questions. The same question will be asked of both candidates. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond. Please wait for the timer before you begin. We will rotate who goes first. The first candidate to respond to each question will also be given 20 seconds to rebut the second candidate's response. Question 1 will be addressed to Mr. Katz first. As a city commissioner, what solutions will you bring to the table to help mitigate sea level rise and climate change?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that question. And sea level rise is an absolute situation that we are encountering right now. Right now, if every when we have a full moon and the water comes in from every direction, the intercoastal, used to be certain areas of the city. Now it's anywhere on the intercoastal, as well as the ocean side. We're seeing a lot of water intrusion, and it's going to cost over $300 million to shore up the city to do it. We have to be fiscally responsible and start planning now in order to raise our seawalls, to do the proper mitigation with, there's also with water coming from underneath, to be able to expel it back. I don't know the exact name of the technology, of course, right now, but it's going to cost over $300 million to mitigate this. And we have to work together to start that now to be able to save our homes, save our residents.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Katz. Vice Mayor Boylston, what is your response? You have 60 seconds.
Yeah, it's funny, Mr. Katz brings up working together, because one of the big projects that he worked on was the seawall at Veterans Park. And one of the big projects that I'm working on, we have the ribbon cutting for, is our marina and elevating, and they literally meet right on Atlantic Avenue. We'll have to meet one day and take a picture there. So, but that's just the beginning. And like Mr. Katz said, it's close to $400 million has been estimated, and it just goes up every single year as the cost of construction goes up. So what's really important is that we're going up to Tallahassee and that we're building relationships up there. You know, one thing that a lot of people know about me is I'm an MPA. I didn't grow up in a political household. I don't believe in picking one side or the other. So when I've gone up to Tallahassee, I've been able to start building those relationships. And I'll tell you, the first time I went up there and was given my agenda, it was the agenda of past years, and it wasn't a lot of meetings with decision makers, right? So I had to make my own meetings. But that's how we're going to be able to fund something like this when it comes to sea level rise, because it's serious for us and it's serious for all of our neighbors.
Thank you. Mr. Katz, you have 20 seconds for a rebuttal or further comment.
Absolutely. And Mr. Wilson is correct. Going to Tallahassee and building those relationships is important. When I was the commissioner, I did it every year, sometimes even on my own dime or personal to make sure we got our funds. And we actually received, in the 3 years I was on the commission, more money from Tallahassee than we have in almost the last 20 years combined. We've received over $3 million in just 1 year in funds for water.
Thank you. Question number 2 will be directed to Vice Mayor Boylston first. Since the retirement of former city manager David Hardin in 2013, the city has had 8 city managers, including interim managers. How do you ensure due diligence in researching the right candidate, and how can you change the culture to attract and keep the right leader?
This is such a great question, because this is something that's been really troubling since I've gone on to the city commission. I own my own company. It's one of the best places to work in South Florida, according to Sun Sentinel. But it's a rowboat in compared to our city's cruise ship. We have 1,000 employees. It's a very large organization, and finding a CEO, and that's kind of how I look at this position, it has been very challenging. We thought we had a really good one. As a matter of fact, Mr. Katz hired him. and his performance was good. He was in the community. People liked the guy. And then we find out that he made some very serious and poor decisions in regards to our city policy. And then we lost him. We had to go back out for a search. Unfortunately, I didn't get my #1 pick for that position. So we went with the #2, and that turnover continues. However, at our directors' positions, we have seen a lot of stability, and I'm the only commissioner in the history of Delray Beach to shadow every single department to learn more about our city, more about our culture, so that I could find the best fit possible.
Thank you. Mr. Katz, you may respond. You will have 60 seconds.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. This is actually absolutely important. I have been leading and managing and hiring people for the last 17 years of my career. And that's what I do is I hire people. I don't fire them. As a matter of fact, when I was on the commission, I didn't have to fire anybody. But we had one city manager retire due to health reasons. Unfortunately, he passed away shortly after that. But I don't fire people. I hire people and then I hold them accountable. I train them, I mentor them, I build them up, and they know what's expected of them. Mr. Lozier, that's something we agree on. He was a great hire. Had he got better guidance, so he didn't make those mistakes and make those errors, and I can't blame Vice Mayor Wilson for firing him, because once he made those mistakes, he had to. But he gave him a stellar review 2 weeks earlier. He wasn't holding him accountable. He gave him a free rein, and then he messed up and he had to fire him. We have to train, we have to mentor, and we have to build people up.
Thank you, Mr. Katz. Vice Mayor Boylston, you have 20 seconds for a rebuttal or further comment.
Yeah, it's just interesting that Mr. Katz said I messed up. No, Mr. Lozier messed up. I was the only commissioner that gave him an opportunity to explain himself. So when the auditor and city attorney brought these concerns to me, I'm the only commissioner that walked into his office and said, talk to me. And what he said to me was he didn't give me one good answer to not call that special meeting and unfortunately move on for him. But at least I gave him the chance.
Okay, thank you for that. And to our viewing audience, I saw a lot of questions in the question and answer box. So you're doing a great job with that. We do have a few more questions that were already written, but at the end, we will go to the questions you've submitted, and we will ask the candidates to answer those questions at the end. Okay, question number 3 will be directed to Mr. Katz first. Delray Beach is greater than the city blocks encompassing downtown. What are your plans to address the diverse community beyond downtown?
Absolutely. Delray Beach, or the Village by the Sea as we call it, is a lot more than downtown Delray. And we have communities from south of Linton to almost Woolbright on the north, and then west all the way up to Military. As a matter of fact, I live literally on the border. I can throw a rock that way, and I'm outside the city limit. So what's nice is having somebody that in order to get downtown and get to the party, it has to literally go through every day, all different parts of the city. And I'm not in that downtown all the time, because the rest of the city, especially, we have communities that have been ignored. Our Southwest Northwest community was ignored for many years, especially by our CRA, that we had a district set up to help them. And then we have areas west of Congress that are not part of the CRA, where roads are almost impossible to drive on. We had, when I was on the commission, Barwick Road, for example, was supposed to be repaved. And when I left, it was at the top of the priority list, and 3 years later, it still hasn't been done. We have to focus on our neighborhoods.
Vice Mayor Boylston, what is your response? You have 60 seconds.
Well, one of the items that I've spent a lot of time and a lot of wind on over these last 3 years was getting the set transformation plan adopted, also known as the update to the West Atlantic redevelopment plan. This is a community wealth building plan. This is adjusting our plan for our community to not just be investing in concrete and buildings, which we are doing, but to also invest in the families and the businesses that are in those neighborhoods so that everyone can be elevated together. So that's been an important fight, and I finally got that adopted. It was finished 3 years ago, and I finally got it adopted. I got the votes for it this past year, and I'm very excited to start putting some of those action items together. But the community that I think is most ignored in Delray Beach from the dais is this one right here. I was made an honorary Haitian last year, And I'm really excited to bring the first Haitian Caribbean Community Center in Palm Beach County to Delray Beach, and stay tuned for a really exciting announcement in the next 2 weeks.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Katz, you have 20 seconds for a rebuttal or further comment.
Just to reiterate, we have communities, neighborhoods around this entire city, and we need to focus on them. And I applaud Commissioner Wilson for working on the SEC transformation plan, but it's not about passing a book, it's about the actions in it. And that could have started on day one, and it should have.
Thank you. Moving on to question number 4. This will be directed to Vice Mayor Boylston first. How would you describe the water issues in Delray Beach, and how would you address the concerns of your constituents and bring it to its highest quality?
Yes, great question. So first, let me say that it's a very serious issue that affects a very small percentage of homes in Delray Beach. It's primarily to do with backflow preventers, and let me say that we test our water daily. We have not had any record of anybody having water that can be deemed below our standards. And that's really important. And I've said this from the dais, whether or not our water's safe, I drink it. I drink it every day straight from the faucet. My wife doesn't. My wife rather it go through a filter, right? My wife is not going to eat something with GMOs in it. I might stop by McDonald's and grab a cheeseburger. So whether or not you think something is safe is relative to you. Does it meet our standards? Yes. Is it tested every single day? Yes. And when we found out there was an issue, we immediately greenlit almost $2 million to fix the issue immediately. And then we got our PIO help with a communications company to help with messaging during a time we are also going through a pandemic.
Thank you. Mr. Katz, you now have 60 minutes to respond. I'm sorry, 60
minutes.
seconds.
Oh, we're going to be here for a little bit. Okay. The water is a critical issue, and Mr. Boylston addressed the reclaimed water, which I know the city's being addressed, but we do have a problem. We have a 30-year-old water filtration system. We have water intrusion coming in from saltwater intrusion from the Lake Okeechobee. There are chemicals getting into our drinking water. We need to do a better job in cleaning it. I'm with him. I'm drinking the water. I know it's safe. Doesn't mean it's the best, and it can be best. We should have higher standards. We need to be, again, fiscally responsible so that we can invest in a new water system for our residents. And we can't just blame. I mean, I've seen so many, everybody's blaming the mayor, you know, and the mayor doesn't vote, it doesn't make the decisions on cleaning water tanks. It's a staff decision ultimately approved by the entire commission. Some of my neighbors yesterday got a push poll saying that I was at fault for the water system. They should vote for Mr. Boylston. I don't understand that, but to me, I think we're on the same page when it comes to the water.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Boylston, you have 20 seconds to respond.
Yes, I think Mr. Katz brings up a good point in regards to our mayor being blamed for the water. It's the issue is that my colleagues wanted to go out and say the water was safe. They wanted to rush out to say the water was safe, and that was a mistake. There's certain words that we need to use in regards to meet certain standards, because like I said, safe is relative to you as it is to me when it comes to the things that we put in our body.
Thank you. Question number 5 will be directed to Mr. Katz first. What have you done to enhance economic opportunity for Black businesses and or Black residents of Delray Beach?
Absolutely. Well, one thing I did was when I was on the commission, I fought very hard against our CR. We had an independent CRA board at the time. After my election, or after I was off the dais, that board was disbanded, which was a very good decision, because instead of directing the money to help minority businesses, those funds were being helped to help white affluent corporations. One of the final decisions, that's when I tried making a motion to disband that board, was the IPIC. IPIC was being developed ultimately by a multi-million-dollar Boston developer that partnered with the original person, and the CRA board gave them literally over $1 million to help offset costs of parking that they had promised in order to get the job done. We need to direct those types of dollars to help our local businesses, to help our minority community, and not put just corporate welfare into the pockets of millionaires.
Thank you, Mr. Katz. Vice Mayor Boylston, you have 60 seconds to respond.
So first, by passing that set transformation plan, that's got a ton of really great tools in it. But over the last few years, what we've done is that we have increased the amount of funds available for Black-owned businesses in the West Atlantic area, helping restaurants like Caesars and Studio 404 open their doors. So it's really important that we're investing into those businesses. And in addition to that, I mentor young Black youth in the community through the EJS Foundation. I check in with them via Zoom. They intern at my company. So I'm boots on the ground. But the most important thing, and this is said to me a lot, is, the community doesn't just need a white knight, okay? They need to be empowered. We need to get our relationship back with work, back with the Northwest Southwest community, and we need to have that steering committee that was originally in our set transformation plan, because we have to be willing to give power, not just take power, not just swoop in and save the day.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Boylston. Mr. Katz, you have 20 seconds to respond.
Sure. I agree, the mentoring, building people up, I say it all the time, is extremely important. But just handing over taxpayer dollars to a board that was that was the hiccup of that set transformation plan getting it passed, was a board that's not governed by sunshine. If you're gonna make decisions for the community, it has to be under sunshine. That's the only thing I would ask, but I'm okay with community participation.
Thank you. Okay, so for the sake of time, we're going to take one question from the audience. So this is an audience question. This is not coming from me. Delray Beach to me seems to have a de facto system of apartheid, socially, economically, educationally, and in power sharing. It has a Black population of almost 30%. How can we address this compartmentalization of race? So I'll start with this particular question. I'll give you a minute, Vice Mayor Boylston, to answer that question. And then Mr. Katz, you'll have the same minute.
The biggest thing is that we need to have conversations. We need to be willing to talk about the obvious, that you walk past Swinton Avenue and walk east on Atlantic Avenue and everything changes, and the color of people's skin all of a sudden changes. But what I see is the rooms that I'm in don't look like that. The real Delray doesn't look like that. At the debate last night, when I looked at the tables to my right and saw the mix of people there around that table that built up Delray, that's what we need to get to. We need to actually have the conversation of why is it split at Swinton, right? Go back and talk about the history, have more of our Racial Equity Institute workshops, which I've not only gotten staff on board to fund for our city employees, but also our CRA is doing a speaker series, and then we'll be funding Racial Equity Institute workshops for our public.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Boylston. Mr. Katz, you have 60 seconds.
Absolutely. This I do agree a lot with Vice Mayor Boylston on, is we have to talk more and have more conversations with our community. Matter of fact, even since I've left the days, I mean, I went out on my way to meet with probably the most controversial person that I believe in. I personally still think even after meeting with him, he's anti-Semitic. He just could not get over, even after trying to explain to him what we've gone through. But then I've reached out, so I said, okay, maybe he doesn't want to listen, others do. Twice since I was out of office, I met with another leader. They kind of call them counterparts, and we've had great conversations. So as long as you don't close your ears if you hear something bad from one person, willing to listen to multiple people. And that's what I've done, is I've listened to and met with, since I've been running, multiple leaders and multiple residents of the community, so that we can work together to collaborate and not let one person dictate how you feel about a community. It's got to be multiple members of the community. We have to work together.
Thank you, Mr. Katz. Okay, again, for the sake of time, we're going to move into the closing remarks, and we'll start with Vice Mayor Boylston first. You'll have 60 seconds for your closing remarks. And Mr. Katz, you will have the same 60 seconds for your closing remarks.
So the main thing that I want to get Delray back to is the Delray I heard so much about when I moved here, and what turned Delray in from a town that I didn't visit much growing up in Pompano Beach to a town that I wanted to live in and raise my family in, and that my teacher, by the way, up for the Dwyer Award for the 3rd time, teaches in. That is still one of my biggest goals, but here are the other things that I need to get done in these next 3 years that are very important to me is the implementation of the transformation plan. Mr. Katz is right. It's not enough just to adopt a plan. You got to put it forward. You got to put it to use. Forward thinking, community wealth building, affordable homes that are actually for sale, and the individuals will be able to build wealth, family wealth with those homes in a short period of time of 15 years, not 40, not 99 years. Neighborhood overlays to protect our community, the Haitian Caribbean Community Center, and Mr. Price mentioned Carver High School at Village Center, and putting that to use with the new 20,000 square feet of adult education coming to our city for top paying trade jobs. I sit on that committee with Dr. Deborah Robinson, who supports me, who endorsed me. And that is what's important. We have to concentrate on our youth. We have to concentrate on our jobs, and we have to diversify our tax base. And I apologize if I went over. I missed it. I must have missed it. I'm sorry. The squares are, sorry.
We'll give the same.
Give Mitch the 60 minutes he wanted.
Thank you.
I don't think the next race wants to wait that long.
Okay, Mr. Katz, you have 60 or so seconds.
Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for hosting this one tonight. This was fantastic. With a tough thing, you guys really pulled off something great here. This election is not about Mr. Bolson's ethics violations, self-dealing actions. This election is a clear choice for the future character and charm of Delray Beach. When speaking in support of the monstrosity called the Atlantic Crossing, Mr. Bolson stated on camera that Delray must accept that it will no longer be a village by the sea. He now says he retracts that. It's a good marketing gimmick. I still think we're more than a marketing gimmick. And say that we're now a mini metro. He went on to say that traffic is bad. It could be worse. Matter of fact, he even said, if you don't like it, there's other places to live. He said the rest of the video said within the city. I went and watched the rest of the video. It didn't actually say that. This narrow-minded thinking and callous disregard for the interests of our residents is typical of Mr. Wilson. We need people to take our residents into consideration when making decisions. The best, if you do a Google search of the minutes when I was on the meeting, the biggest phrase you'll hear more and more often is, I agree or concur with what Mr. Katz said, because I was the one that brought reason to the dais, and I want to be that reason again.
Thank you. Gentlemen, I want to thank you for your time. To the viewing audience, remember these gentlemen will be on your ballot for Delray Beach City Commission, seat number 3. And at this time, I'm going to turn the program back over to Attorney Stevens so that we can hear from the candidates for seat 5. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hayward. We will now move to our final group of the evening, which will consist of our candidates for the Delray Beach mayor's position. The candidates are Mayor Shelly Petroli and Ms. Tracy Caruso. As previously stated, each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement. We will begin first with Mayor Petroli. Mayor?
Well, there we go. All right, starting off. First of all, I want to say good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for hosting tonight's forum, and great to see you, Herman. My name is Shelly Petroli. I'm the current mayor of Delray Beach, and I've served in this role for the last 3 years. And in the previous 5 years to that, I was serving as a commissioner. I'm a native to Palm Beach County, a resident second generation. Now I'm raising my boys here in Delray Beach. My husband and I are real estate agents focusing on residential sales. I found my way into government when I saw how high Delray taxes were, and it made it very difficult for me to be able to convince my clients to relocate to Delray Beach and purchase their home here. Once elected, I successfully led the way in reducing Delray's tax rates for the 7 consecutive years without compromising or sacrificing our services. And this is really key to keeping families in Delray Beach as well, because when you are wealth building, you have to make sure that you can afford to be able to live in the town and in the house that you've purchased and not be priced out. My accomplishments as a whole have been far-reaching and effective. They started with rebidding contracts, including our largest waste contract, which saved the ratepayers $9 million. Under my tenure as mayor, I also completed our city's comprehensive plan, which is our guide to the visioning of Delray Beach's future. As the elected mayor, I stepped up to the job, making one of my biggest moves, which led to the changing of our CRA from an independent board to one that is now part of the elected body stands in. This move was a huge success and can be easily seen by all the work and programs that is taking place in the Northwest and the Southwest and Osceola Park neighborhoods. But mostly, I'm proud of how we've managed during these unprecedented times during a global pandemic. My goals have been cut short, however, due to COVID. I have unfinished business here in Delray Beach, and I would like to ask for your consideration in being reelected for another term as mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Caruso, you now have the floor, ma'am. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Herman. It's really good to see you. And thank you to When We All Vote. This is just an amazing thing. And I'm really happy to be here tonight. Just very excited. I'm Tracy Caruso. I am running for mayor of Delray Beach. I have a business that is located in the said community, the Northwest Southwest. And I've attracted over 100 different businesses here. It's been an amazing experience just being able to be so involved in the community and meet so many people. I've been here for almost a decade. I am married to State Representative Mike Caruso. I have 7 stepchildren. I have 2 very adorable fluffy dogs. And I'm the chair of the Historic Preservation Board in Delray Beach. I've been the president of a condo association and vice president of a homeowners association. Currently, I was the chair of Palm Beach County Cares during the hurricane. I've done during the last hurricane. I've also mentored people in the community. I started a mentoring program for girls at Atlantic High School. And I'm proud to say I have relationships with them still to this day. It's been incredible. I've had a very varied life. I was a rape crisis counselor. I'm certified in that. So I've had a lot of different experiences. I am supported by so many great people in this community. Fire, police, or city employees. SDIU is supporting me. They've endorsed me, and it's incredible. Many former mayors that really have been put on the shelf and should be included back in our community. People like Jay Albrin and Woody McDuffie, Jeff Perlman, incredible people. County commissioners are endorsing me, such as Bob Weinroth and Maria Marino. I am endorsed by many commissioners that are in office now, such as Catherine Waldron, many former ones in Delray Beach, are endorsing me as well. Many state reps. So I think we can count on my husband, State Representative Mike Caruso. It was a hard endorsement to get, but I got it. And I have Representative Joe Casello, and I'm endorsed by Palm Beach Chair, the school chair, Frank Barbieri, and tax collector Ann Gannon. So I've got
Ms. Caruso.
Sorry.
So that's okay. That's all right. You got all caught up in the moment, but listen, we're trying to be as respectful and observant of the time as possible.
Go right ahead, Herman. I'm
all
sorry.
Right. Everything is good. That's all right. That's all right. We got a long way to go. It's just a slight little hiccup, but hey, we get the point that you're very, very passionate about too. Okay. So let's move on with the question.
Do this a different way.
Can you hear me? Okay. So let's move on with our questions. The same question will be asked of both candidates. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond. Please wait for the timer before you begin. We will rotate who goes first. The first candidate to respond to each question will also be given 20 seconds for rebut or to rebut the second candidate's response. That being said, first question will go to you, Ms. Caruso.
Sure.
Delray Beach is greater than the city blocks encompassing downtown. What are your plans to address the diverse community beyond downtown?
We have a lot of work to do here. It's amazing. There's so many people who feel that they've been ignored. And if you go to the Set community where I happen to have a business, it's amazing. You go to the Set, you speak with the Black community, you speak with Haitian community, and they just feel that they are not heard. We are one community, and we need to start acting that way. It's amazing, the separation. As Ryan brought up, we get to Swinton and it just becomes a whole different place. And it's a great place with so much diversity. But we've worked so much on the east part of our city, but we've done nothing west. And we need to work with our community to give them everything that they need and deserve. And we do this by listening to people within their communities and having them have a say and adopting the Set transformation plan in its original form. That's a very important thing, and that's what's missing.
Thank you very much. Mayor Petroli, response, 60 seconds.
Sure. Well, first of all, I want to say that we are doing things that are west of Swinton. And it started with the takeover of the CRA. I know that it was highly controversial, but I sat on the the City Commission board watching the CRA for 5 years take money and continually put it on the east side of Swinton and not to the west where we really needed that money. So that has actually happened. We are actually drawing the line in the sand. We are not putting money east of Swinton with one exception, and that's basically Osceola Park, because that was another promised neighborhood that we should have been putting money into. So we are absolutely pouring money into the western sections of our community when I'm talking about West Atlantic in order to be able to make good on the promises that were made decades ago that were never kept.
Thank you. 20 seconds to respond, Ms. Caruso.
Well, if you actually speak with people within these communities, that's not what's happening here. When was the last time you took a look in Rainberry Woods? I'm guessing you've never been there. There's no lights. It's terrible. They could use speed bumps. No one is helping anyone. I don't think it's for you or for me to even say what goes on in communities that aren't necessarily where we live. We need to have community
the answer now, Ms. Caruso. We were just asked, we don't want to be rude to you, but we want you to be cognizant of the time, okay? Because otherwise we'll have to go back to the other candidate. Okay?
The problem is, Herman, I'm not seeing a timer up.
Oh, you're not seeing a timer? The timer was up on that one.
Yeah. Now I'm not seeing it up on here, but I'm going to use another one. Go ahead, Shelly. I'm sorry. I don't want to cut it.
I don't think it's my turn.
No, I think she was giving you the option if you wanted to say anything in addition to her additional time, if you so choose.
Oh, do I have 20 seconds or?
No, I mean, just a little short response.
Yeah. Okay, very, very quickly, just want to let you know that, yes, there are areas west of I-95. I was thinking it was east of I-95 we were talking about that we absolutely need to focus on, including putting lighting in, and we are working on that currently.
Thank you very much. So let's go to our next question here. This one will go to you first, Mayor Petroli. What have you done to enhance economic opportunity for Black businesses and or Black residents of Delray Beach?
Okay, well, that's a great question. First of all, one of the things that the CRA did when we took over the board was to make sure that some of the lands that was aggregated were not just given away to developers. We're actually taking that land and we are aggregating it and building affordable housing. And this is in the Northwest, this is in the Southwest neighborhood right now. We've also done, so there's 10 homes that are currently in completion that are going to be affordable homes. We have another 20 homes that we're going to be building as well that are on track. for affordable housing as well. Those homes are going to be ranging in price value from $160,000 up to about $300,000, all the way up to a 4-bedroom, 2-bath with 2-car garages. This is a very affordable price range for a brand new home in the Southwest community. We are definitely moving forward on the things that we've promised the community, and we have all sorts of things that are offering also businesses. You are one of the recipients of that too, Mr. Herman Stevens.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mayor. Ms. Caruso, you have 60 seconds to respond.
Sure. You know, I think that we could be doing a lot better than what we're doing. It's amazing to feel that affordable housing to who? That's first of all. I would say that we should be really looking for attainable housing. I'd also say that when you're talking about land leases that are 99 years that renew for another 99 years, this is not exactly wealth building for the community. And I know that we made a change recently and now it's 40 years. I don't see this as being good enough. I think that we should do what the county is doing. They have 15 years for deed restriction. 15 years and you get to own it, which is still pretty high. I would actually argue that we should do 5 years. I think that we really need to be working on wealth building for our communities. We need to be putting money into businesses, micro businesses, more than just the couple of them that you're doing. I think we just need, it's great that we did some, but we need to do so much more for the people in our communities.
Thank you very much. Mayor Petroli, 20 seconds to respond if you like.
Very good. This is where the understanding of my opponent comes in, that where she doesn't have that understanding. The buildings that we're building right now are going to be 15 years. We actually do have 40 years and there are longer leases as well, but that has to do with making sure that we do have affordable housing and workforce housing in the community and we don't lose that over time.
Thank you very much. So as a reminder to those who are watching, we want to thank you and we encourage audience participation. So if you have any questions, please submit them in the answer box or in the Facebook comment section. All right. So we'll resume the questions again. And we will start with you, Ms. Caruso, for the next question. What are the top 3 priorities for your platform and what strategies will you deploy to accomplish them?
First and foremost, we really need to worry about our small businesses and COVID. COVID in the economy, that's number 1. But the reason why we're having trouble even getting there is because we are dealing with issues we shouldn't even be dealing with. The fact that we're questioning the safety of our water, I know that Mayor Petroli is going to say that the water is fine. We have doubts, and that's what the problem is. And when you are fined, when your city is fined $3 million, and for willful and intentional neglect, you have a serious problem. You do not hire a PR firm to keep telling everyone that the water is fine when we know that it's not. It is not fine. You also do not get to direct the city manager. It is against the city charter. And Shelly Petroli knows that because she's been in office for 8 years. And this is something she should know, yet she did it. She told her about the safety, to lie to the citizens about it. It's not what I would do. I believe in transparency, and that's what I want to see happen for our community.
Thank you, Mayor Petroli. 60 seconds to respond.
Once again, a non-answer. But anyway, the pandemic and recovery are the most important things that basically we need to focus on right away. The water is a second thing. And unfortunately, we've got one person in the entire group of all of us running that seems to think that we've got this horrendous issue with water. That's only because of the fact that Ms. Caruso wants to become mayor of Delray Beach and she needs an issue. That's the issue she's chosen. It's sad because it's fear mongering amongst our voters. The third issue would be growth management. We have an explosion of growth happening in Delray Beach, and we have to be able to manage that against the congestion and traffic that comes if we do not want to become just like those cities to the south, which is where people are coming from to get away from the congestion and the traffic. So if we're not cognizant of how our streets and our resources are managed in order to be able to bring in these people, then we're going to end up not unlike the cities to the south, and people here are going to be wanting to go north to get away from the traffic. So those are the 3 issues.
Thank you very much. Just a point of privilege here. 20 seconds, Ms. Caruso. Are you pandering to fear mongering? 20
The
seconds.
The Department of Health would totally disagree with Shelly Petroli, hence the fine. This is ridiculous. I think the one that's fear mongering is her. She knows about the regulations that we have here. This is not going to become Fort Lauderdale. Nobody wants that to happen. 8 city managers on her watch.
Mayor Petrolia,
Yes, sir.
20 seconds if you like.
Sure. Yes, it is fear mongering, and we'll get into the city manager issue, I'm sure, eventually.
All right. The next question, we'll start with Ms. Caruso first. There continues to be a need for attainable, affordable, and workforce housing in Delray Beach. How can city leaders help to alleviate this challenge?
Well, I think that we started discussing this already. One of the things that we really need to concentrate on our Northwest Southwest area and get more affordable housing, more attainable housing without the land and deed restrictions. Our CRA needs to give more money into rehabilitation of the homes that are already there. Nobody wants to feel that they're going to be displaced by development. We don't want we don't want gentrification. These are not things that we want to see going on here. And I just feel that we could do a lot better. Shelly Petroli seems to think that everything is fine and that we're doing a great job. But if she actually spoke with the people in all of our communities here, she'd know that's not true. Not only that, but the CRA should not have been taken over by the city commission in the cover of darkness without anybody seeing what was going to happen. The transparency is gone. We need to move back towards an independent CRA. What you did was wrong, and the community knows it.
Mayor, 60 seconds response.
Well, it's great that the community is going to have the opportunity to be able to make that decision and tell us exactly what they feel as far as what my job performance has been. And that will happen on March 9th. And I'm hoping that people will make the decision, the correct decision, which is to maintain the person that's in this position right now that has basically delivered to the community. With respect to how do we get more affordable housing, we're already working on that, Herman. We're basically working with the developers that are coming in, and we're requiring more from them. That's something that we should have been doing for many, many years, basically asking them to bring in affordable housing as they're bringing in these big, huge developments, and not just on the very small portion of the bonus that they used to do. We're asking them to bring in affordable housing in the entire complex. So if it's a 100-unit complex, we want at least 20 affordable housing units within that complex. And of course, I've already explained what we're doing with the CRA. So those two in combination should be putting a lot more housing in an affordable category in Delray Beach.
Thank you very much. 20-second response, Ms. Caruso.
Well, I agree that the voters are going to have to make a decision, and I hope it's the right one. What you've been doing here is not right, Shelly. The fact is that you're the one who has voted for all of this overdevelopment. Those hotels came under you. It's amazing to see everything that you're doing here. It's and I don't mean that in a good way. The traffic, everything that's really been going on is you. That's what's happened, and not in a good way. Not in a good way. We have some changes that need to be made.
Thank you very much. We're going to go now to audience questions. We'll take a few. Let me go to one. This is one from an anonymous individual. Question to both of the candidates. Have you taken the Racial Equity Institute training? And how has it helped you understand race relations in Delray Beach? You understand the question? I can repeat that again.
Who would you like to answer? Herman?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You can go ahead, Ms. Caruso.
Sure. I've taken the Racial Equity Institute course 3 times. 3 times. And I was not an elected official. I just wanted to. Actually, someone within the community suggested it for me, thought that I would find it interesting, enlightening, educational, that I would learn something. And each time I've taken it, I've learned something different. I've learned about certain historical things that I didn't know about. I learned where we really are as a country, what's going on with systemic racism, it's mind blowing what you see. And some of it is, it's very upsetting to sit and go through it. It's very emotional, but you have to. If you don't understand what's going on with anybody else in our community. You don't understand, you can't fully understand your friends. You can't fully understand what other people's struggles are. You don't get it unless you take this class.
Thank you very much. Mayor Petroli?
Yes, I have also taken the class, and I've also taken an online course as well. I would have to tell you, I grew up here. I understand what is at stake. I think that for me, I've always known that there is a difference in being white and having white privilege versus being Black. How do I know this? You ask me and anybody else of my color the question, would you rather be Black or white? The answer is very clear. And I think that that's really what we need to understand. There should not be a clear answer in that question. It's one of the things that I learned in the racial classes that I've taken. And I have to tell you, when I'm out with my friends and they are of color, there's a difference in how they feel when they're received in a store, going out to eat. It's very different for them. They're also worried about whether or not their children are going to come home and be safe. I don't worry about those things. There's something very, very wrong here, and we have to address it. Absolutely.
Thank you very much. And that's the same question I asked of the previous panelists. We have a situation where a lot of times there's a disconnect between law enforcement sometimes, and we have a very good situation in Delray, the disconnect between law enforcement and the African American community. And the response pales sometimes based upon the cry that comes out from the community. That being said, would you, Mayor, and I'll ask you as well, Ms. Caruso, would you support a civil review board? And a civil review board, in essence, would be a situation whereby individuals who have complaints about conduct of law enforcement are viewed by an independent body other than internal affairs. Would you support such a body?
Yes,
Yes. Oh, sorry.
I absolutely would support a civil review board. I think that the input of the citizens at this point in time is extremely important, especially with us going through some changes that are necessary for us to be able to, find some equity in what's happening in our world. So I absolutely support that. And I think that it's part and parcel to making sure that we're moving forward in a more positive way and making sure that our citizens have input in what's happening in their worlds and can bring to us what they need in order to be able to make sure that everybody is being treated fairly, because right now they're not.
Thank you very much. Ms. Caruso, your opportunity.
Yes, I would support it. Absolutely 100%. And I would agree with Shelly with this one, that people in our communities are not being heard and that their needs aren't being met. And I would also say that she's been in for 8 years and she's the one who hasn't been meeting their needs and listening. She didn't adopt the set transformation plan, which is insane. Let's see. There are so many Black employees that have come and gone under her. What she did to Michael Coleman and Jamel Stewart, incredible. She referred to 2 pillars of our community as Robin Hood, stealing from the rich and giving to the poor. She tends to criminalize a lot of people in our community, and it's just wrong. It's just wrong. And so I don't believe what she's actually telling you about what she would support. I don't believe she would use an oversight committee. She doesn't want to oversight for anything. She wants to shut people out, not bring them in.
Mayor Petroli, I'm more than happy to give you 20 seconds to respond to that.
Please do. This is where my colleague or my opponent here definitely lacks an understanding. I have nothing to do with the firing or hiring of anybody in this city in those staffing level positions. And, Ms. Caruso seems to act like she knows more about me than I know about myself. I know who I am, and I don't need her telling me who I am.
All right. Thank you. Looks like we have another question here.
Do I get to?
I'm sorry, Ms. Caruso. Go ahead. I'm sorry. You're correct. Go ahead.
Okay. You know, it's incredible. She's saying that I don't get to tell her who she is. She's right, but the city employees certainly have a lot to say about how they feel about Shelly Petroli and the low morale of this city and how it's at an all-time low. We have a lot of work to do, and we need a lot of work to do with somebody else in office.
Thank you. There's another question here by an anonymous person, and this one is for you, Ms. Caruso. The individual is concerned about your lack of experience in jumping into the mayor's seat without getting experience on the commission first, like most mayors. Do you want to respond to that?
Most mayors, this is not really true. The mayor that was actually in before Shelly Petroli was not on the commission first. This is actually a thing that Shelly Petroli herself feels. She doesn't feel that anyone really has the experience. In fact, she's mentioned that two people that are commissioners, that they're really not ready to do the work either. I think that this is really up to the voters to decide. I have a lot of experience within our community. I have a lot of life experience. And I think that that's what people are looking for right now. They're not looking for a political insider that's, that's with hiring and firing 8 city managers over a period of time. We've gone through 24 different department heads under Shelly Petroli's watch, 100 different employees. This is ridiculous. And no, she didn't hire and fire them, but there is no stability under her. And the pattern is her. When you speak with people who have worked in the city, they say it's her. They name her as the problem. We need to get her out and have someone new in so that we have a fighting chance.
Mayor Petrolia?
Well, I think that my opponent here is living in a fantasy world, because basically just like the water is at issue for her, I'm now responsible for all of the employees. And of course, I don't even know who these employees are. I don't cohort with the employees. I'm not over the employees. And in fact, when an employee is fired, a lot of times I find out about it on social media. I'm not consulted about it. But that goes to her lack of understanding, just because of the fact that she has not had the time that she needs in order to be able to understand what this job entails. And it's really sad because she's taking and throwing at me things that are absolutely not in my control and never will be with respect to a sitting city mayor. But she doesn't understand this because she has not served as a commissioner to even get her feet wet in understanding what this job entails. And that's a problem. And I'm hoping that the citizens understand what they're inviting in if in fact they vote for Tracy Caruso.
All right, thank you very much. We seem to
Do I
have
get
gotten
to
all
do
the
my
questions
20
here.
seconds to that, Herman?
Oh, please.
Okay, thank you very much. The fact is that I don't have experience intentionally and willfully neglecting the city's drinking water. This is not the experience I have. I don't have the experience getting employees out who really are good, or this replacing the city managers. This is insane.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Caruso. Now we're gonna go to closing statements. We will start with Mayor Petrolia first, followed by Ms. Caruso. You both have 1 minute.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank you all for allowing us to be here tonight. Delray is in a growing city with complex issues. Tough decisions by the commission must be balanced and thoughtful. We oversee a $151 million budget, and we are continually adjusting to accommodate the fallout of the global pandemic. This is not the time or place for a mayor with zero experience at the helm. I took a full 5 years as a commissioner to prepare for the job of mayor. I bring experience and the steady hand needed to guide the city through these unprecedented times. I was a commissioner as the sober home crisis unfolded and subsequently was part of its solution. I served through hurricanes, neighborhood turf wars, and now a pandemic. I have the proven ability to lead even in the face of a crisis. As I briefly mentioned in my opening statement, I have accomplished many things, but I have much more to do. And I'm ready to get those things done if given the opportunity to serve as mayor in Delray Beach over the next 3 years. I'm asking for your support on March 9th in hopes that I've earned your vote. Vote Shelly Petroli for mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mrs. Caruso.
Hi, thanks so much. Thank you all for the opportunity to do this. I think it's time for someone new. We need new leadership. Shelly Petroli's leadership has not been right for this city. And the proof is in all of the people and all of the organizations that are supporting me. The police, fire, former city officials, so many people in our city just want to see someone new in because they don't like what she's doing. They don't like the divisive nature of what city government has become. It's become, the morale is incredibly low, and it doesn't surprise me that she doesn't know any of our city employees because she's pretty far removed from what's going on here. And that's not because of her high experience, it's because of the ivory tower that she has put herself in. We have so many challenges here, and I want to see us get on the right foot, a vision of the city that includes all sorts of community involvement and community leaders where they have their say and their voices heard. I want to be a leader for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I want to thank both of y'all for coming on this evening. And I hope that for the sake of our viewers, that we now know more about our candidate than what we knew before the forum started. Thank you very much. Now I'll pass this over to Ms. Hayward.
Thank you, Attorney Stevens. And before we close out for this evening, and before I give some last and final remarks, we want to thank you, our viewing audience, for hanging on in there with us. We're now going to bring Ms. Cruz back on the screen, and she's going to launch a poll, much like she did for the West Palm Beach Forum.
Thank you so much, Attorney Stevens and Ms. Haywood, for moderating today. We'll now take it to the polls one more time. You're going to see 10 poll questions on the screen. Just go ahead and click on the answer as they come up. You have about 2 minutes to answer. Okay, can everybody see the questions on the Zoom? Because I don't see anybody responding on this. Okay, I see somebody responding. There you go. Okay. Just when you get the question, click on the answer and it'll take you to the next question. So everybody, you can just go ahead and join in. And these are questions for the city of Delray Beach. All right, in a few seconds, we're going to go over the answers. Everybody can just go ahead and get your questions in, your answers in. All right. Okay, perfect. We've had the 2 minutes to answer the questions. Thank you, everybody, for participating in the polls. Question number 1. Is it important that neighborhoods share in city success? 96% said yes, 4% said no. Question number 2. Do you feel COVID should be administered to all citizens, regardless if seasonal or year-round? 71% said yes, 29% said no. Question number 3. What is the biggest concern in your community? We have 4 different options. Public safety, 21%, homelessness, 21%, water quality, 4%, and affordable housing, 54%. Question number 4. Is protecting our city water supply an important issue? 93% said yes, and 7% said no. Question number 5. Rate our current city commission. 11% said excellent, 61% said good, 14% said neutral, and 14% said it needs improvement. Question number 6, how would you rate public safety? 21% said excellent, 61% said good, 18% said neutral, and no one said needs improvement. Question number 7, do you think racial equity is a major issue that needs to be addressed in our community? 89% said yes, 11% said no. Our next question is, do you see the next generation having a secure future? 29% said yes, 71% said no. Question number 9, do you feel workforce housing should be a priority in your city? 93% said yes, 7% said no. And last but not least, do you feel forums of this type are effective? 96% said yes, 4% said no. Thank you all for participating.
Thank you, Ms. Cruz, and thank you to all of the candidates who participated this evening and to the When We All Vote Palm Beach County voting squad for hosting this forum. Join us next week on Wednesday, February 17th for a forum featuring candidates from Boca Raton, and on Thursday, February 18th, featuring candidates from Belglade, Pahokee, Riviera Beach, and South Bay. We also want to thank you, our viewing audience, for attending. I want to remind everyone to vote on or before Tuesday, March 9th. There won't be any early voting for these municipal elections. If you prefer to vote by mail, you have until Saturday, February 27th to request your vote by mail ballot. For more information about the 2021 election cycle, log on to www.pbcelections.org. Good night, and remember, there's power in your vote.